An accused child sex offender worked at 4 daycare locations in our state, not just one. We now know a man accused of assaulting multiple young boys worked at Bright Path facilities in Avon, Simsbury, Windsor, and West Hartford. Your reporter Katie Cohen is live at the Bright Path location on Park Road in West Hartford with the latest. Katie.
Stephanie, this is the letter that parents got today when they picked up their children from this Bright Path location in West Hartford, along with the locations in Simsbury and Windsor. It says that a former employee who is now accused of sexually assaulting multiple young boys may have also worked with their children. Now the attorneys who are representing many Bright Path families want to know more. Tonight, the Bright Path sexual assault investigation is expanding, and so is the alarm for families across the state. Suspect Giancarlos Barrios Otero worked at not only the Avon Bright Path location, but filled in temporarily at facilities in Simsbury, West Hartford, and Windsor for a limited number of hours. Barrios Otero is charged with sexually assaulting 5 boys between the ages of 3 and 5 during nap time in Avon. Some of the alleged incidents were caught on camera. He started working in Avon in January 2022. That location closed last week. Families at the 3 remaining facilities are wondering if they will face the same fate. The letter given to West Hartford, Windsor, and Simsbury parents today says Bright Path is not aware of any allegations or complaints concerning the former employee related to his temporary presence at these locations.
These families are going to be in pain, scared, and anxious throughout this entire weekend, and it's not fair, especially not on Mother's Day.
Attorney Eric Schoenberg is working with 85 Bright Path families. He expects that number to grow, and in the meantime, he's asking Bright Path shares exactly when Barrios Otero worked at each additional location.
It's upsetting that after almost a month and a half of asking for transparency from this facility, what they send out now is a small piece that is only going to create more panic than provide answers.
Bright Path says they have shared this update with law enforcement and DCF and say they have opened their own investigation into Barrios Otero. Schoenberg is now asking former Bright Path employees and families to come forward, even if it's difficult.
It's not easy. It's hard. It may be the hardest phone call you've ever made. But if you don't pick up the phone and you don't talk, we can't help you, and you may not be able to help other people. Let's all help each other together.
I did ask a Bright Path spokesperson if they have more information about when Barrios Otero worked in each of these additional locations. I have not yet heard back, but he will be back in court on June 23rd. I'm your reporter in West Hartford, Katie Cohen, Channel 3 Eyewitness.